What's up, guys? It is game time once again. All right, in a earlier video, I think posted a day or two ago, I was hinting at a new deck that I've been working on, and I think it's time to unveil it. Without further ado, you can notice two different colors in my hand, blue and black. Savvy players might be able to guess what I'm packing here, and there she is, Yuriko Death's Shadow. So I was incredibly impressed with this commander every time I faced it with my various decks. I would play against decks that were pretty much on the junky side, mid-range, big expensive spells, whatever. It didn't even seem to matter all that much. The commander was so powerful and so dangerous that I knew that something was clearly special about it. And a friend of mine, actually, a guy who plays locally, mainly a multiplayer player, but he and I used to play a lot of 1v1 commander as well with paper cards. And he showed me his multiplayer deck that, if you notice on Yuriko's ability, whenever it deals damage to a player, reveal the top card of your library and put that card into your hand, which is actually not drawing. And then each opponent loses life equal to that card's converted mana cost. So that hits all three players at a four-person table. And when you're flipping over things like split cards and delve cards, and in his case, flipping over Draco, the 16-mana dragon, you can kill the whole table really quickly with just a few activations of Yuriko. And the fact that there's almost always somebody at a multiplayer table who doesn't have any creatures to block with means that you can pretty much proc it every single turn. He's running a fair amount of other ninjas to really pile on the damage. So his deck is devoted to multiplayer. This deck is much more streamlined for a 1v1, and it would be remarkably different if I were to play it in a multiplayer environment. But that said, it has proved to just be absolutely ridiculous. The first main day that I played the deck, when I was still tuning it a lot, and I actually did a bunch of tandem games with Nate, the deck went undefeated for the whole afternoon and evening, probably winning about 30 straight games. And then the following day I played it again, probably 20 or 30 games, and it went undefeated as well, racking up a record of about 60-0. And it only actually suffered its first losses today. In fact, I lost twice today. One time to just a ridiculous draw from a Muldrotha deck, where the guy got Lion's Eye Diamond and Muldrotha on turn 3, to go with his Sylvan Safekeeper from turn 1, and that was pretty much a lock, considering he had, he had crazy stuff like Pernicious Deed in the graveyard and multiple artifacts to replay with the Lion's Eye Diamond. There was basically nothing I could do. And, of course, he could sack land forever to keep me from bouncing it. And then the other game was a really, really good game, actually, against Grand Arbiter Augustine, that I actually intend to record a little bit later. But I wanted to kick it off with this one. I'm up against the Daniel. This poor guy has been using this commander against me. I think this is our 11th game, and I'm currently 10-0 against him. And this was by far the closest to the games that we played. He's running with Etrata, the Silencer, and in the blue-black versus blue-black matchup. I think that Yuriko probably has an advantage. He's got some stuff that's meant to combo with his thing, but fundamentally it's just too slow and not versatile enough of a commander, and doesn't have built-in card advantage for him to really compete. Although I think he's been improving the deck, because the last few times we played it was a lot closer. Just a few more words about the Yuriko deck. It bears the closest resemblance probably to Edric, but because it has a black component over a green component, black just gives you better spells. It gives you discard, it gives you removal in the form of the Mighty Toxic Deluge, which is a card that Edric does not have access to. And Edric does have Cyclonic Rift. I'm actually not running it in this deck, though that may be wrong. But mainly because it's just such a low mana environment, and I don't really plan on casting 7 mana spells. But maybe the 2 mana bounce is probably still worth it, and having the added flexibility for late games. There certainly are some games where having the Cyclonic Rift in my deck might have allowed me to win the game quicker, and in the case of that match against Grand Arbiter Augustine, it might have allowed me to actually win the entire game. But anyway, I've talked long enough. It's time to get to the first match, and I've got a bunch of other games coming up that I'll talk to you about later. This is even though it's one land, it's very, very keepable, because I brainstorm, Thoughtseize, and Ponder, and Spell Pierce, so absolutely, no question, no-brainer keeping. We both have a 7-card hand. I'm just going to, obviously not pondering turn 1. This is in order to Spell Pierce a turn 1 play. Oh, he's got his Drowned Catacomb, so I'll certainly brainstorm during end step. Take a quick little gander at the deck, and I'll be talking more about this later. I think I've adjusted one card since this list was played in a game a little while ago, and I think that it's removing Jace Vryn's Prodigy for Invisible Stalker, 1/1 hexproof unblockable dude for 2 mana. which I have hardly ever drawn, but certainly seems good in theory to wield equipment and also to enable you to use the commander's ninjutsu ability every single time you want to. I'm just going to go put Water Grave into play. Or actually, I guess I'm not. I'm brainstorming. And off that I get 3 spells. No land. That's kind of unfortunate. Revoker, Counterspell, Tutor. All right, well, looking at my hand, I know that Deluge isn't particularly good against him normally. It hasn't been good in most of the other games, so I'm going to put that back. And I think I also put back... what else did I put back? I forgot. It doesn't matter. I'm going to do Vampiric Tutoring during upkeep since I need mana. Oh, yeah, that's right. I put the Revoker back. That's certainly not useful against him either. So I'm going to Vampiric Tutor during upkeep just to ensure that I hit a land drop. And that'll turn on the Thoughtseize. Go get Watery Grave. And in his hand, I see Metamorph, Rite of Replication, Fata. Ugh, this thing is nasty as hell. Thief of Sanity, Vampiric Tutor, and Yuriko. And only 1 land. So he doesn't have the ability to play anything right now unless he tutors. But it's a pretty damn good hand. This is sort of weird because normally his deck hasn't really had any creatures. And the fact that he's got, 4 in his hand right now, including some I've never seen before, is really troubling. And Fata is just death against me. I have no answer to it currently. The Island Walk is incredibly problematic, and I have so many good artifacts for him to steal. I just can't let him have that. All right, well, I've got one more turn here. But having the information that he did not have any land in play when I used the Thoughtseize means that I may have to be a little risky on my next turn to develop my mana. All right, Spiketail Hatchling. Well, I could just run that out, and that would handle his turn 3 play if he does, in fact, have another land to play the Thief of Sanity. But I really, really need to get to 3 mana to activate, to get Trinket Mage online. And I decide that I'm willing to take the gamble here and look at basically the equivalent of 4 cards and hope to get a land. I'm just going to ponder. I could get heavily punished here if I get no land and he also hits 3 land and is able to cast one of his guys. Ugh. Imperial Seal, Vault, and Muddle. That is not what I wanted to see. They're all going back, and I'm going to spin the wheels. Come on, land. Can I just put that back? What the hell? All right. Well, there's the full punish. I just have to hope now he doesn't have a 3rd land. And he's got a 3rd land, a really good one too, in the form of Sunken Ruins, and down comes Thief of Sanity. Yikes. I haven't played against this much. This is a card I actually almost considered putting in this deck. It just seems so powerful in theory. Being able to look at the top 3 cards of their library and may spend mana and cast. Okay, so it only allows you to cast cards. You can't get lands with it at least. But still, that's a pretty insane ability for a 3 mana 2/2 flyer. Just the 3 slot is really competitive in this deck. I don't really have very many 3s, and they're all really nuts. Strip Mine. Okay. Well, that was really, really timely. I would have been, on the verge of death here if I hadn't drawn a land there. So I'm just going to run out the Trinket Mage, go get Mana Crypt, and wait. It's really strange. He Vampiric Tutors during upkeep. I'm at a loss to what that's all about. Unless he went and got Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth. In fact, I think that he actually had to have tutored for that because I know the rest of his hand, right? It's Metamorph, Rite of Replication, and his other creature, his Yuriko. I think he's got one other thing. It's strange that he got Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth there. I guess he's drawn 2 cards, so. But one of them was a land. One of them was the Sunken Ruins. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate. I know what he's doing here. He's going to make a 2nd Thief of Sanity. And I think this is a little premature casting this before attacking. You might as well attack and see what you get, right? He might have something way better, like a sword or something to cast off the top of my deck. But 2 Thief of Sanity is a big problem, particularly because he's not going to be able to block with this Thief of Sanity. He probably not going to want to. Scalding Tarn. All right, well, that's super handy. I'm going to attack in here. It's nice of him actually to have played the Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth, because that's going to mean that the Strip Mine makes black mana, and I can keep more blue available. Ninjutsu time. Flipping over. Treachery. Phenomenal card to get right now. That is just about the best thing I could probably see, because that answers basically both Thieves of Sanity with just 1 card. And he's down to just 3 cards in hand also, although one of them is currently exiled. Play a Trinket Mage, and I'm going to go get a card that I have never used in a deck yet, but absolutely is one of the top spells in this deck, Mox Amber. It's actually one of the reasons why I've been a little reluctant to pull Jace from the deck, because Jace activates Mox Amber. But you really do have Yuriko in play almost every single game, and that makes the Mox extremely reliable to activate, and it makes both blue and black. So I really, really liked it, particularly in situations like this. I have the ability to both muddle and counterspell. I get beaten in the face by 2 Thieves of Sanity, but if I can counterspell what he gets from him, it's not the end of the world. Gobble coffers. I was thinking he doesn't have very much mana to play things off the top of my deck with these guys, but now he's got Tomb Coffers. That is nasty. Thank God I have Strip Mine. Because you can spend any color of mana on Thief of Sanity to use the cards to steal with it. Alright, Confidant and Tezzeret. Good lord, what the hell did he flip? What the hell did he reveal? I mean, Tezzeret the Seeker is just platinum. Alright, that's a little more like it. Wingcrafter and a land. I am really at a loss as to what he kept. He spends 5 mana or 4 mana on Helm of the Host. So I imagine he's just expecting he's going to get lots more Thieves of Sanity to really wreck my day. But his mana base is actually extremely fragile, because if I kill the Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth, then this thing's not doing anything. He has no swamps out at all. So it's killing 2 birds with 1 stone, and won't allow him to use Helm of the Host for a long time because it costs 5 to equip it. I'm not too worried about that at all. All right. Down to 14, it's not the end of the world here. Alright, well, so this is a no-brainer. I'm just going to Treachery one of these fellows and then Strip Mine him. And I've got Spell Pierce to protect the Treachery if he got something like Mana Drain or whatever. Or, I don't know, Remand or Mana Leak off of one of these things, which I fully expect him to do. So I'm going to go fetch an island. And I make a mistake here, obviously. I'm looking at the Choked Estuary thinking, damn, I don't have an island or a swamp in my hand. But of course, I'm about to untap 5 land. Would have probably behooved me to actually have 5 land in play when Treachery resolved. And he plays Mana Drain, and that's actually, yeah, it's one of the cards that he got, right? He's hit me 3 times with Thief of Sanity. So yeah, that's from my deck. Gotcha. Spell Pierce. Snag. In come Yuriko and the Trinket Mage. I'd love to have 5 mana in play here, but it's kind of academic. I strip away that land, tapped Choked Estuary sheepishly, and play Spiked Hatchling, and I've still got Counterspell up in a commanding board position. He only has 3 mana. He thinks about it for a little while, realizes he can't really cast anything. Attacking doesn't even really avail him very much, and the counterattack is much worse. And Mr. The Daniel packs it in and incurs loss at number 11 consecutively. You got to feel for the guy a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, what can you do? I think all 11 of our games have been against this Yuriko deck, which he keeps trying to beat. And it just has way too much tools and way too much power for his, I think, mid-range and somewhat casual deck. But I thought this was a good game to start off with, just to give you guys an introduction to where this deck is at. It is still a work in progress. I'd say there's probably 2 to 3 slots in the deck that are still floating, and I'm not 100% convinced what belongs there. It's definitely the Jace slot, that Invisible Stalker slot, and I just put Baral, Chief of Compliance, into the deck as well, in replacement of one of the Owls, and I'm not sure that that's right either. Baral, I haven't drawn him yet. It seems so good in theory, but it may prove that the card is just not useful enough most of the time to warrant being in the deck, and I may cut it for something else. But I've got some other games coming up, and you guys are in for a treat. It's a different format, actually. I've been so overjoyed about how tiny the files are with this new recorder that I can actually record games on the fly. And even when they're 14, 15 minutes long, they're not 25 gig files anymore. They're only like a gig. So they're fast to upload, and they don't need to be of the highest quality to really make it worth it. So expect 3 of those games in quick succession, and many, many more games to come. I'm really enjoying playing the Yuriko deck. It is very fun and flexible, and a lot of these games are a real puzzle, as you'll see in the games that are coming up. See you guys soon. Take care.